Welcome back to my Edit With Me series. If you missed my first video in the series, we went over some sunrise beach photos, and in this video we are going to be going over some in-home newborn photos. Now, this is something that I get asked about editing a lot, just because in-home newborn sessions can be really tricky in terms of how to light them and also in terms of how to edit them. So when it comes to editing, obviously you want to get it as close to good in camera as you possibly can. And so if that's something you struggle with, I actually have a free camera settings cheat sheet where I literally tell you the exact camera settings I use for in-home newborn sessions, and I think that is really going to help you. I know a lot of people, when they struggle with like homes that don't have amazing natural light, some of the common advice is to use flash, even off-camera flash, and I experimented a lot with that. I came from the wedding photography world, so I'm very familiar with off-camera flash, but I just never loved my work when I was using flash for newborn sessions, and so I just learned how to use natural light even in dark homes in a way that looks beautiful and natural. And I am obsessed with my work now that I have figured out how to use natural light and make it look better than it did when I was using flash. So if you're someone who struggles with figuring out how to use natural lighting, especially in homes, that might not have a lot of windows or maybe dark or other issues like that, you are going to love that camera settings cheat sheet. That is going to be so helpful for you for figuring out how to use natural light for in-home newborn sessions. And then once you figure out how to get the lighting right, you can perfect these with editing. So with in-home newborn sessions, again, even if you have really, you've perfected the way you're shooting it in camera, it's never going to be perfect straight out of camera for a lot of reasons. But the kind of distracting elements of a home can be fixed with editing. So I think that this video is going to be really helpful if you struggle with getting your newborn sessions to be consistent. So you can see on the screen here's the first photo we're going to edit, and I'll just show you like another one from this gallery so you can see kind of what the final image will look like. But I have gone ahead and just reverted this back to the original settings so that we can edit it from scratch together. So as you can see, or maybe you can't tell, but there's a window behind me. Like I'm kind of standing in front of the window here, and the window's like along this wall. So the lighting's coming in from here. You can kind of see over here, there's another window back here, but like this, the behind them is darker than the front of them. And that's what happens when you front light with a window. And front lighting with a window is like what I recommend for in-home sessions, but it's just going to require some editing to make it look more like, to get rid of the distracting element of like this background being darker than them, for example. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start by applying a base preset, and all these are going to look a little funky, I think, straight out of, or just like with only the base preset applied, just because of all of the blue in this photo. So we talked about in the last Edit With Me video, you want to fix what's bothering you the most about the image first. So what's bothering me the most about this image is the blue. Like you can even see on this little girl's outfit, like the blue from mom's outfit is kind of like reflecting onto it. The blue's bothering me. So let's see, we're going to go down here, and I am going to go to blue here and take this down, take the saturation down and the luminance up. I'm going to go here, and again, take the saturation down, luminance up. Okay, I think I'm going to take the saturation down even more. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Now we're going to go back up here, and I'm going to brighten this a little bit more. And then I'm going to take up the shadows a little bit more, I think. Okay, So, and then I'm just hitting the backspace button and that shows me the before. I like to just go back and forth between the before and after to kind of see what I've done so far. Okay, and then I still feel like it's really blue, so I'm gonna bring up the warmth a lot. Okay. And then I'm gonna bring up the tint to be a little bit more pink. Okay. And now what's bothering me the most is this background being darker than them. So I do this a lot in my editing, especially for in-home newborn sessions, as I use AI to find the background, and you can see it usually does a pretty good job, but for some reason it thinks this little girl's bow is part of the background and part of the mom's dress. So I'm gonna hit subtract, brush, and I'm just gonna brush those parts out so that it doesn't think they're part of the background. Again, subtract, brush, and just brush that out so it doesn't get edited with the background. Now what I'm gonna do, just making sure there's no other like red parts. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down here, bring up the shadows and the exposure. Just, I want the background to essentially be like as bright as the subject here. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm just gonna hit return. Okay, and then another thing that's bothering me is like because the light's coming in here and their legs are closer to the window than their heads are a little bit brighter than their heads are. So I'm gonna create a linear gradient here and just pull this down. Okay, and again, I'm gonna make this part of the image a little bit brighter. Okay, perfect. Okay, and now I'm feeling like it's a little bit flat, like not contrasty enough. So I might make it a little bit dehazed, bring up the clarity slightly, and might make it a little warmer. And then I might pull down the shadows. Might even pull down. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with it. That would be my final edit. So here's my before and my after. Okay, and now we are going to edit another image from this session with the mom and baby laying on the bed here. So again, I'm just going to apply my base preset, and these presets are just what I've come up with like over the years of, I used to do the same thing on every single photo, and so I just went ahead and made it a preset, and then, anytime I kind of like tweaked my style a lot, I would just make a new preset for that. And so these presets have just been like tweaked over thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of images over the course of years to just what I love. And I've had other photographers test them as well, photographers from all over the country on thousands of their images. And so I'm just super happy with how I feel like these give me a really good place to start. And so you can actually download these as well if you think that they would be helpful for your work. If you like my editing style and want a base that's going to get you most of the way there, then you might find these really helpful. And I will leave a link to these in the description as well. Okay, so let's see what I want to do for my base here. I think I'm liking this one. Okay, and then again, we're going to fix what's bothering us the most about the photo first. So I think I'm going to bring up the shadows slightly on this and the exposure down just a tiny bit. And then again, I'm just feeling like the lighting is not super consistent with the light coming from this side over here. It makes this side of the photo a little bit darker. So I'm just going to create a linear gradient here. And I think I'm going to make this side of the photo just like bring up the shadows a tiny bit. Okay, and then I'm going to just do like this corner over here, bring up the exposure a little bit. Okay, And then I'm just going to bring the overall exposure down. Okay. And then I think I want to do an AI background here again. Select background. Let's see how good of a job it does here. I think that's pretty good, actually. Okay. So now I think I want to make this like bed sheet whiter, basically. So just a little bit. Bring up the shadows again, like just on the bed. You don't want to make it look fake, but just make the sheets look a little bit whiter. Okay, and then I think maybe I'll bring the saturation down a little bit. And let's see, maybe the texture and clarity down just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just hitting return, and just want to add a little bit of contrast, I think. Okay, I think this would be my final edit. So here's my before and my after. Before, after, before, after. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I hope you found this helpful. I think, in-home newborn sessions do typically require more editing than other types of sessions, especially with, making sure the backgrounds are in the same type of lighting as the subject, and then also making sure that there's just even lighting across the whole image so that there's no like distracting parts of the photo and they all look equally as beautiful and light and creamy. So anyway, if you found this helpful, let me know what other types of sessions you'd like to see me edit, or any type of editing that you feel like you need help with. I'd love to walk through more of these edit with me videos. And then if you feel like that camera settings guide would be helpful for you, that's going to be in the description below, along with a link to these presets if you like the base preset and think that that would be helpful for you. So let me know what you want to see from me next, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.